Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Album Cover, where we get inside the entertainment industry or outside of the entertainment industry with those in the know and give them their flowers while they're here to be celebrated. Now, the man that you see, we go way back in the time. As you can see, he's repping the G Borough on his chest. That's where we met as undergraduates at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. He's a licensed clinical social worker and a member of the Playboy Pi Zeta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Shout out to all my friends that are Playboys. Y'all know who y'all are. It's my good friend, Jaren, JD Doby. JD, welcome to Beyond the Album Cover, man.
Man, Jarrell, look, man, it's been a really, really long time. Been watching everything that you've been doing some amazing interviews. I truly am humble, man, and honored to be able to be here with you today. Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you.
Man, the pleasure is all mine, man. I just look at it like I got a platform and let me share it with everybody, man, especially those who I know that's out doing well in the community. And it's just my privilege and my duty to help those that are in position. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Well, once again, man, I just have to thank you for having me, man, and for having me here to be able to discuss such important topics, man. So, like I said, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, not a problem. So let's go ahead and kick it off now. You were born and raised in Greensboro?
Yes, yes. As you can see, born and raised Greensboro, North Carolina. Raised on the south side of Greensboro in a neighborhood called Woodley Lakes. It's a neighborhood that is near and dear to my heart. Still taking opportunity to go back and visit. I've actually adopted the main street that runs down the middle of the neighborhood that I actually grew up in honor of one of my deceased friends. His name is Jaren Doby, who passed on November 14, 2003. And we also have taken an opportunity to develop a scholarship in his name as well. So Greensboro is a city that it will always be near and dear to my heart. I love it.
Yeah. Now, what high school did you end up going to in Greensboro? Did you go to Grimsley, Dudley, Smith, Northeast Guilford? Where did you go?
I actually graduated from the best high school in Greensboro, and that is the one and only James B. Dudley High School. Yes. Shouts out to all my Panthers, but yes, I did graduate from Dudley. Yes, sir.
All right. And great alums that went to Dudley. So you could Google that to see all that came through those halls. Now, what led you to want to go to UNCG? And now, was that your first choice?
To be honest with you, UNCG was my only choice. I actually am the youngest of four boys. One of my older brothers actually ended up attending UNCG before I did. And for personal reasons, he had to leave the city and attend school elsewhere. I took it upon myself, to go back and finish what it is that he started. Both of my parents are Aggies. My mother also attended a Bennett College, and she's a Bennett Belle as well. And I saw myself, wanted to do something a little different, to be quite honest with you. Dudley High School, as everyone knows for it to be, they call it Little A&T. And a lot of my friends were going in that direction. A lot of people I knew were going in that direction. But I sought to strike out to be different. I sought to do something to be able to challenge myself in a way that I hadn't before. And that's when I found myself applying to UNCG, and the rest is history.
Yeah, now for those of you that don't know, I'm gonna tell you something that you probably don't know, JD. UNCG wasn't really on my radar up until maybe sophomore year going into junior year. I was in a program called Upward Bound, and you know what Upward Bound is, right?
I do.
Yeah, so every Friday we would take a college tour. And this one particular Friday, we happened to tour UNCG. And the guide was actually from my hometown. And UNCG sold me on the spot because before then, I was completely obsessed with wanting to go to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to be a Tar Heel man, but UNCG sold me. I applied, got accepted, and boom, fall 04, landed on campus. And just to step foot on that campus, it was like, man, I think I made the right choice. It's not too big, not too small. You'll get a nice little workout walking to and from, but the radio station was what sold me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And now you're talking about the legendary WUAG. Had so many fond memories of that radio station, so many great opportunities provided by on-air talent like yourself. Um, like it's just been, I mean, oh my gosh, man, just a great place to attend school, but also just a great place to be able to foster so many different relationships and to expand on so many different areas of our talents, man. It was a time that I'll never forget.
Yeah, definitely big shout outs to everybody that came through UAG, DJ Av, Section 8, A-Town, Lane, Josh, Jessam Stanley, who's doing a thing right now as a YouTube influencer, yoga, and also big ups to my boy Chris Lee out in Raleigh,
Absolutely.
Durham at WREL, lead sports anchor, out doing his thing. So you're
Absolutely.
at UNCG, you're doing your thing around campus, rapping and whatnot. Joined a couple of
Mm.
organizations, primarily Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Playboy Pi Zeta chapter. Shout out once again to all my friends who are Playboys, and I admire you guys from afar, the community service that you guys do, and just what the organization stands for, and just a great group of guys, you know, when going to events that you would have on campus, like the forums that you would have discussing various issues. And I feel that those forums are definitely needed now, given our current climate, especially when you're a minority on a PWI campus where you feel like there's not a lot of safe spaces where you can completely express yourself without worrying about looking over your shoulder.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We had the opportunity to be able to create a meeting place for anyone who wanted to be able to attend to address significant on-campus political, social, academic issues that ranged from so many different topics. To be quite honest with you, it also created a platform, excuse me, for the Black and minority community at UNCG to be able to have a voice and to be able to come together and to discuss relevant topics around the that were current at that particular time. So it was something that I had never seen before. To be quite honest with you, that was being done at a predominantly white institution, and it just was just so well received. To be quite honest with you, but I would be remiss if I did not say that would have been nothing without our fellow students, our fellow Spartans. They showed up and showed out often and in large number to be able to come and share their opinions in relations to these things. And it was just a beauty to behold. And definitely some great discussions came out of that. And a whole lot of future leaders were able to emerge from such a great forum.
Yeah, and while with the movie Higher Learning, seeing how all of the different groups were separated based on race and commonalities, I didn't really experience a lot of that at UNCG, excuse me. That you
Mm-hmm.
did have your cliques, but everybody pretty much interacted amongst each other. You rolled in different
Mm-hmm.
circles and you were able to ingratiate yourself with different groups. So it wasn't like, oh, all of the blacks hang here, or oh, all the Latinos
Mm-hmm.
hang here. Everybody was mixing and matching and just hanging out and having a good time. Now, first coming into campus, when you first hit that class, did you feel kind of like, oh, I'm the only one here? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing being around white people a little bit more than I did when I was at Dudley.
Right, right. To be quite honest with you, I had parents that presented me and my brother. Well, let me actually change that. Not actually just say presented, but actually put us in positions at very young ages to be able to interact with people of all races. To be honest with you, we had very close friends within my family growing up that were of different cultural backgrounds. At a very young age, prior to coming to UNCG, I was actually a part of a Caribbean steel drum group that was actually a traveling group around the country, and that had diverse members in it, in which the leader of our group was a white man named Tracy Thornton, and I have to thank him. To be honest with you, for so much, because he was the first person to expose me actually at a very young age to African drumming, various hand drums, Caribbean style music, Caribbean steel drums. He actually was my teacher. And through that relationship and through that teaching from him, I was able to see sights that I had never seen before at a very young age, be able to provide for my family at a very young age, and just be exposed to so many different areas and so many different musical acts, Jarrell. Oh my gosh. We traveled with Bob Marley's original Wailers band, of course, in the absence of Bob Marley because he, of course, was deceased at the time. May he rest in peace. We also would tour with legendary reggae artist Burning Spear, actually opened up for Lauryn Hill at Walnut Creek. Also was able to open up for, oh my gosh, Marshall Montano and Ecstatic, which is, he's probably the largest soca artist, arguably, that ever lived. And we had the opportunity to open for him as well. Got to play the main stage at Disney's Epcot Center for an entire month. And that was, I mean, headlining and just so many different other shows and being able to expose for things that I could share. But to be able to bring it back around full circle, those moments, that exposure was something that prepared me to be able to be in an environment, to be quite honest with you, where I was not the majority. So I wasn't uncomfortable at all, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I can attest to that because for me it's a little bit different, you know, coming from a rural country town in northeastern North Carolina, close to Virginia. Not a lot of diversity because you can count the number of white students on your fingers, and by the time you come to UNCG, you're like, oh, I don't know how to interact here because I'm used to being the majority. So it was definitely a steep learning curve, but it's something that I think is well needed because you got to be able to learn how to work in different rooms because the world is not going to be one. You're going to have to interact with different people and learn how to be in different environments, learn to ingratiate yourself and not judge a book by its cover and go by generalizations and stereotypes because the world is much bigger than any town USA, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I couldn't have said it better myself. You're absolutely right.
And you were mentioning reggae. I want to throw a quick plug to the Reggae Cafe. If you're in Greensboro and if you want that good home style island flavor food, go to the Reggae Cafe. Yes. I've never been there, never ate there in my 5 years there. Go eat at Reggae Cafe. Also Stephanie's, Maxie B's, Shrimp Shack. And if you know somebody from Minge Grill, tell your boy wants some of that Minge wing sauce. Best wing sauce you ever had in your life. If you've been to UNCG from early 2000s on, you know about Minge Grill and that sauce.
Yes. Two legendary restaurants. And if you want some good, authentic, Caribbean, Jamaican, right, reggae-inspired vibes as well, please make sure that you go check out Paradise Restaurant as well in Greensboro. Jarrell, I got to take you. Next time you're back in the States, man, you're gonna love that. That's a Greensboro historical mark in the community.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you a funny story. It was like 2 years ago. I took my wife to Stephanie's, right? We drove from my hometown in Gaston, which is like maybe 3 hours from Greensboro. We drove all the way there to Stephanie's just so that she could try it out because I had been telling about Stephanie so much. And I was like, trust me, it is worth the drive. So Stephanie's, located off of Randleman Road. I want my $5 check in the mail. Definitely go check that out. So you graduate UNCG. What happens next for you after you get your degree, walk across that stage? Did you go to grad school right away, or did you take a pause to figure out, I want to reset and what I want to do?
To be honest with you, I was in limbo. It was UNCG, my academic, I guess, focuses there had changed. I came in as a music major and had actually ended up changing my major midway to psychology because I found it to be more interesting. I had been a musician my entire life and wanted to kind of switch gears and be a man of many hats and not just one, to be honest with you. But when I graduated, I was kind of left not really knowing, didn't really know a lot of people in the mental health field. But it was actually a great family friend of mine. Her name is Sonia Desai. You can look her up. She's done tremendous work in the Greensboro and surrounding counties area with so many different organizations and has saved so many lives in the process and being able to do that as well. And she actually introduced me to the first mental health agency that I ever worked at in Greensboro. She referred me. And to be honest with you, Jarrell, I tell the story a lot when I speak on just being motivated and entering the mental health field. But I actually took a job as a receptionist at this mental health agency as a psychology major, newly graduated psychology major, just to get my foot in the door. Because I knew if I could get my foot in the door, that I could prove that I had more talents to be able to give, and that I was really hungry to be able to serve and continue to serve and help other people. Jarrell, when I tell you that that experience is one that I'll never forget, I was actually able to be promoted very quickly. Within at the time, community support was actually really big in the in the mental health arena, and was able to do that. And eventually, within a couple of months, was actually given my own program within that company that actually served the most serious juvenile felons in Guilford County. It was a journey that I will never forget, to be honest with you. And it was actually through the owner that was alive, may he rest in peace as well, that I actually ended up going to grad school. Before he passed away, he actually brought me into his office, Jarrell, and he said, "Hey, JD, I see you've been doing a lot of good work. Have you ever thought about, going back and furthering your education?" And I was like, "Well, I thought about it, but I didn't really know what to do." He was the one that introduced me to the social work programs and told me about those, because of course, when you want to be a counselor or a therapist, naturally you think counseling programs. He sat me down and did the pros and the cons. And this is not a knock to any of my counselors, my licensed clinical mental health counselors, or any of you, but he was able to present it to me in a manner in which it made sense. And thankfully, I was able to apply and be accepted into the Joint Master Social Work program that still exists today. That is a joint program between UNC Greensboro and North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. So I was able to attend that program naturally and obtain my master's in social work.
All right. So what was that process going into grad school? And I went to grad school myself, got my master's in education special ed. So grad school, for those of you that don't know, it's a different beast. The workload is heavy, a lot of reading, a lot of writing. So pretty much bye-bye free time. So what was that like for you, trying to get your mind right, knowing, hey, I got to step my academic game up?
Man, to be honest with you, naturally with anything that I do, Jarrell, that I'm passionate about or that I want to do well at, I was nervous. I was nervous to enter back into the academic realm, hoping to do well, but I knew that I wanted to do something more and put myself in a position to be able to touch more people and to be able to help them in a larger capacity. And I knew that that was the vehicle for me, at least. And it was something that I went into wholeheartedly to be able to give my all. I actually ended up being the president of my particular class while I was in the Joint Master of Social Work program, in addition to being nominated as the president for the Honor Society for Social Work Students, and was able to actually be honored with Social Work Student of the Year, and gaining an assistantship under the president of the program at the time. So to me, my mindset was no different than it was from undergrad. In undergrad, I did a lot of solid work. We were able to produce a lot of positive outcomes. And in entering into that realm, I was prepared to not just be a student, but to be an advocate, but to do my best. And it was an experience as well that I'm very grateful for, very grateful for that program.
All right, so you get your master's and then you take the big test in order to get your bona fides. For those who don't know what bona fides is, that's another word for like license or credentials. And I'm sure they probably was telling you during the prep, like, hey, X amount of percent of people only pass the first time. Yes. You're probably going to have to take it more than once to pass. So what was your mindset going in and the outcome when you finally received that paper that says you passed?
Right. Well, Jarrell, I tell this story to all my supervisees. I actually am currently certified to be able to supervise all licensed clinical social work associates and all licensed clinical mental health counselor associates in the state of North Carolina, so that they can become fully licensed therapists themselves. This is the story that I tell everyone that I meet, especially the licensed clinical social work associates who are looking to take and pass their exam. Me, Jarrell, I actually failed my exam. I actually failed my exam a few times. I actually took the opportunity in failing that exam. It was one of the more defeating things that I had experienced in my lifetime, outside of other things. But professionally, it's the biggest blow that I had ever taken, to be honest with you. Even to the point where my license actually was something that had to lapse as a result of me not being able to pass my licensure exam. This is where the important part of the story comes in. I was at a crossroads in my life. I had a daughter at the time, to be quite honest with you, and I had to make a decision. Do I take all this time, all this effort that I put in to my future, to this career where I was passionate about helping people, and turn my back on it and do something else? Or do I start from scratch, scoop up and build up with worn out tools and make one last good go at this thing? And Jarrell, I took the opportunity to do just that. Successfully, I passed that licensure exam and cried every tear I had in my body, because it was such a rewarding element for me. I am supposed to be here. I worked very hard for it. I tried very hard. I failed many times, got back up, came back, and was able to, as a result of that, be able to help so many different people and be able to put myself in position to be able to mentor and aid other people who are looking to become therapists in the world today and shaping future therapists and shaping future leaders. It's a very, very passionate part of my life that I'm very, very proud of and super passionate about, to be honest with you, because I tell everyone that will listen, never give up. If you're passionate about something, you may fail the first time, second time, third time, but if you are passionate about it, never give up. And I never gave up.
Yeah, and to quote the late Sam Mills from the Carolina Panthers, keep pounding, beat the Falcons this weekend, please. Now, for African Americans in the mental health profession, have you seen an increase of African Americans going into mental health, especially men, because we know the stigma of mental health in the African American community, especially amongst men, that we don't open up, we don't talk. And I feel that it's great that we're seeing now that stigma slowly starting to erode, and we're seeing more African Americans and men especially be more open, saying, hey, I'm going to therapy. I'm talking to somebody because I don't have all the answers.
Right, right. To be quite honest with you, thankfully, yes, we are seeing an increase of Black men and women taking an opportunity to utilize therapy. The stereotypes and the stigmas remain, though, in the community and are very real, which is why I put myself in the position that I'm in now with help from so many different people. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that. But it's important to be able to, especially in the Black community, to be able to have someone that we can relate to. I just spoke not too long ago with a fellow colleague about stereotypes and stigmas in the Black community. You know, we commonly believe that going to therapy makes you crazy, right? Or, being able to make sure that, you know what, God will work it out through everything. And so we turn to things like that. Now, I want to say this because it's very important. Anybody who ever comes to me within therapy and talks about like their support systems, like their faith leaders or their church, guess what I do, Jarrell? I encourage them to continue to utilize those things because those are strong, positive supports in their lives. But I remain to put myself in place to be that extra step of help in the event that they need it. And you know what? Being able to address those stereotypes as well in relation to men, being vulnerable, opening up to somebody makes you weak, or you're not strong if you're going to see a therapist. It is the opposite. It is the opposite. Being able to make sure that you can open up and address these things in order to improve yourself is something that is positive. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to make sure that we eliminate the stigmas and to make sure that you have a face that you can relate to when you walk through those doors, to be able to understand you and be able to reiterate things to you in a manner in which you can understand it so you can feel understood in turn. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I was thinking back to a class that I took while I was at UNCG about
Mm-hmm.
gender and identity. Shout out to Dr. Manning, talking about,
Yes.
masculinity and
Mm-hmm.
what does it mean to be a man? Because when you hear the phrase "be a man," it's very
Mm-hmm.
loaded and it's very dangerous because the definition of a man can mean so many different things. Just because I don't know how to fix a car or be Mr. Handyman around the house, don't make me no less of a man than someone that can go get some wood and go do some construction work. And I just think that it is a good thing now that we're starting to be open and defining our own meanings of what does it mean to be a man, to be a woman, and to not be held down by those gender stereotypes or those stereotypes in regards to sex. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think that the work that you're doing is very valuable. I commend you, and I encourage anybody, if you are going through and if you need therapy, seek it. If you are going to church and using religion alongside therapy, do that as well. The more support that you have, the better off you'll be. Now, going into young people in mental health
Mm-hmm.
and music.
Mm-hmm.
Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion just released a record not too long ago called WAP. It's not woman anointed with praise. It means something else that we can't say here. But how do we feel that the that message, along with, we go far back with Foxy Brown, Little Kim, the images and the lyrics that's depicting women in a certain way, to where young girls are not being fed with the counter images of like your Queen Latifahs, your Rhapsodies, or those that's more conscious and showing, hey, I don't have to show everybody everything in order to say
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm. Right. This is a very important topic, and it's important to be able to recognize one of the most obvious things. This is adult content. Even when we were younger, right, Jarrell, and we had the Little Kims of the world, as you mentioned, the Foxy Browns of the world, and we had like these female artists, who may have dressed provocatively, or even male hip hop artists that are using like explicit lyrics and things of that nature. It's important to be able to recognize that they are making music, right, and content for a specific audience, and that is the adult audience. To be honest with you. Now, do we have children that are exposed to these things on a day-to-day basis? Absolutely. I would be lying if I was to pretend that that was something that did not happen. So it's important on the parental side of things, on the mentor side of things, on the support side of things, that we're very careful with what it is that our children are exposed to. We live in a technological age, Jarrell, where almost every kid is walking around with what? A tablet, a cell phone, where they could hear this music, access these videos at any given point in time. It is a great responsibility to the parents to be able to have the needed conversations, depending on the nature, the age and level of maturity of your children, and also to make sure that we're doing effective monitoring. Being able to make some kind of effort is better than no effort. And in the event that children are exposed, it's important to be able to field those questions and have conversations that are most appropriate, right? Of course, like I said, for their age and level of maturity, in order to kind of field and promote some kind of understanding. But it is, we have to make sure that we do not forget that, like I said, Jarrell, in the beginning, that this is adult content meant for adults.
And kids nowadays won't know the feeling of your parents going to Walmart, Kmart, or whatever store and getting you the clean version of rap
Yes.
albums, the squeaky clean, sanitized versions. Because when Snoop Dogg was talking about it ain't no fun, in the clean version, he's saying it ain't no fun when your toys are on the floor. But the important thing with artists is that, you grow as you mature. Because I look at Jay-Z, shout out to Ski Beats from Greensboro, Greensboro putting it down, did Reasonable Doubt, Camp Low, Original Flavor, just to see Jay-Z's growth from Reasonable Doubt to 444, the way he was talking about ownership, grown man stuff. And I feel that if you're talking about the same thing that you was back in 96, in 2020, then you still haven't done a lot of growth, a lot of living, because it's something when you're 40, 50 years old saying bees ain't you know what. But if I say I love my wife, I'm faithful or whatever, it shows the evolution. Hopefully that your fans could have the evolution alongside you as they grow and experience, because it comes a point in your life where you have to put those childish things behind you when you have somebody else to answer to, whether it be a child or a significant other. Then we just hope that artists and those in general can have that linear path of growth and maturity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you're definitely very right. Jay-Z, the Jay-Z's of the world, the LL Cool J's of the world, have shown just, I mean, great immortality. To be honest with you, in the music industry, and being able to evolve with the times, right? Be able to talk about the changes of the things that are going on in their lives, and able to address their audiences that are growing with them. And it's been amazing to be along for the ride. And it just doesn't seem to be anywhere near over. And that's the exciting part about it. Like I still wait in anticipation, to be honest with you, for a Jay-Z project, solo project, to be able to come along, just to see, like I said, what's next? Like what left does he have? And he just keeps, making music that I feel like personally continues to be entertaining for the audience that is growing with him. So that's an amazing talent, to be honest with you, to be able to last that long, and continue to be highly anticipated and sought after sonically. That is amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, it's great for our artists to be able to have that kind of longevity in the music industry.
Yeah, and to not put out an album in years and still spend money from 88, I mean, you are the GOAT for that. You see what I did there, right? So what is your thoughts on Rhapsody? Because when I first heard Rhapsody and saw that she was from the 252, my neck of the woods, I was like, okay, we really about to be on now, especially for the females.
Yes. Let me tell you something right now. Rhapsody is not to be played with. That woman, I mean, just blesses a microphone, to be quite honest with you. When I was exposed to her, I actually was exposed to a lot of different prominent artists before they got bigger, through my stepfather. He would contact me and send me different things. And actually, I got to give some credit to one of my fraternity brothers too, who actually, like, regularly we exchange like different songs, clips, YouTubes. Hey, have you heard of this artist? Hey, have you listened to this? And when Rhapsody came my way through those channels, to be honest with you, man, I was blown away. I was blown away. I mean, we have a lot of female talent in the game, and we have had it, for some time. And it's great to be able to see them actually out here with the lyrics. And Rhapsody, oh my gosh, has the lyrics. And it's just amazing, like I said, because what it does is it just sends me through the wormhole, right? The rabbit hole, rather, of just so many different artists, female, male, different cultural backgrounds, right, in different countries that are just out here killing it. But much respect to Rhapsody and all North Carolina artists that are doing major things right now. It's just wonderful to see, and it makes me very proud. It does.
Yeah, big facts. Because when the Eve album dropped, I was like, that's my top 5 album of the year. That, along with YB Cordae, Lost Boys, and then May the Lord Watch by Little Brother. Another connection with Rhapsody, a friend who I went to school with actually plays in her band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, plays keys for Rhapsody. So when I saw him on something on Netflix she was on, I was like, yo, I went to school with him. But it's just definitely good for me to see North Carolina putting on right now, not only in music, but sports as well. We got Bam Adebayo from Washington in the NBA Finals. We had, I think it was Montrezl Harrell from Rocky Mount win Most Improved Player of the Year. Brandon Ingram from Kinston, Kobe White out of Goldsboro, Jimmy Graham from Goldsboro. We still got CP3 from Winston holding it down in the league, PJ Tucker from Raleigh. So NC, you know, it's definitely a great time to be from the Tar Heel State.
That's right. That's right. I mean, producing so many different talents from so many different areas is something that people should continue to make sure that they keep an eye on, because North Carolina, I mean, has just been prominent in so many different areas of the world, and we continue to be just that. So I couldn't be more proud, to be honest with you, Jarrell, to be from North Carolina. I represent it everywhere I go, represent my hometown everywhere I go, and it's just something that I'm very proud of.
Yes, same here. I rep 252 everywhere I go, even though I'm in New Mexico, the 505. Whenever I go home, I got to stop and hit up Bojangles, hit up Cookout. And we're known for more than just Pepsi, Texas Pete, NASCAR, birthplace of Michael Jordan. Now, I want to switch gears back onto mental health and young adults. Now, we know that in most places, it's either online learning only or it's a hybrid where it's in person or online. And what I've been noticing is that for a lot of our young people being away from their friends and doing like we're doing now, sitting in front of a computer, virtual learning, it's having a dramatic effect on their mental health. So how can the young people combat mental health fatigue and still be able to get that social fix of being around their friends while maintaining safe social distancing protocols depending on your state regulations?
Great topic. I've actually had the honor to speak on it on several different occasions in relation to the pandemic, with that being the primary focus in the world, amongst other things right now. And it is important to make sure for my parents and students to make sure that we're having these conversations, right? Making sure that we're actively talking with one another about what it is that's going on. What is it that your children actively understand about what is happening in the world right now? Be able to seek their input, right? Field questions and be able to keep the door open for conversation, right? Also, with the pandemic has come so many different, Jarrell, unforeseen changes in routine, schedules, circumstances, right? It's important to be able to create some normality or some hard schedule moments within our lives, right? Scheduling bedtime, scheduling family times, scheduling breaks, right? And being able to do things like that. Also taking an opportunity to normalize what folks are going through. You are not alone. There's so many different children that are dealing with what it is that you are dealing with, and taking an opportunity to recognize that, you know what, you're not the only person that's going through this. I have an 8-year-old daughter, Jarrell, and she has to take the opportunity to utilize virtual learning as well, and hasn't had the opportunity to be around her friends as she would like to in the past. But if there are ways to be creative, we've had Zoom parties, Jarrell. We've had like porch parties where, like, you know what? You're on your porch and you're driving up in your car and you're taking an opportunity to interact from the sunroof of your vehicle or just outside, and being able to just to lay eyes on your friend has been something that has just been so rewarding, right? And we can't forget our coping skills, right? Making sure that kids are exposed to walks outside or exercise or riding your bike or like any kind of family outing where you can just get out of the environment that you're in all the time. It's important that we stick together and also to be creative. And because solutions are not one size fits all. So make sure that you're taking an opportunity to engage with your neighbors and other support systems to see what it is that is working for them, and share your ideas and things that have worked and things that have not worked with one another in order to build up what it is that will work for your family and for your children. It's very important that we stick together during these times.
Yeah, and for me being a former educator, special ed, my concern is about, you know, the parents of children with special needs, just trying to figure out how are their needs being met if they're on a BIP or IEP, especially if you're doing virtual learning, because I know for a lot of working parents, it's a dilemma depending on what profession you're in. Some are a little bit more flexible, willing to work with you, while others, you got to make that decision where like, hey, I got to stay full time and be teacher to my kids or go out and get this bread. And you shouldn't put a parent in that situation where you got to choose my kids or my job.
Yeah, that's been something that I've been dealing with a lot as a therapist in the outpatient setting and talking with parents that are dealing with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression in relation to these changes and having to make decisions and balance those. It's been difficult for some, and others have been a little bit more fortunate. But even if you're on the fortunate side, we cannot take an opportunity to forget that there are folks that are struggling. And that's what I meant by being able to make sure that to remember that we're in this together and to stick together, because there's always someone that can use our assistance, our support, or just a listening ear.
Yeah, and I'm gonna relate this to a little bit with my day gig. I work for the state of New Mexico Human Services, and just seeing
Mhm.
a lot of people applying for benefits, and some say, "Man, this is my first time." Having that stigma of feeling ashamed, feeling embarrassed. I didn't do anything right. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I'm in this situation because we read articles about people who've never been in a pantry line or go onto a food bank. It's their first time, and it's definitely a situation where for some it's like I never thought I would be in this situation, and especially with the moratorium about to lift on apartment rentals, and some
Mhm.
people are having to pay month of back rent and not knowing, hey, where am I going to lay my head?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's something like of the likes that we've never seen before, to be honest with you. And of course, there have been plenty of other pandemics throughout the course of American history that have impacted folks in different ways. But for at least the majority of living Americans at this time, this is something like we've never seen before, where we're seeing a lot of folks being evicted, a lot of financial crises, a lot of mental health crises, a lot of racial tension as a result of things that are going on as well. Some folks are calling it the perfect storm. I'm calling it the perfect opportunity for us to be able to rise from it. It's in the face of adversity where you find your most noble self. And all of these things present opportunities for us to rise again as we've done before.
Yeah, because to me, it feels like, in Do the Right Thing, where it's a hot summer's day in Brooklyn, everybody's hot. You have all of these tensions starting to boil and spill over. And I feel we're at that point where everybody's like, look, I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to listen to you. I don't care what the governor says. I don't care what so and so says. I'm going to do what I want to do because I want to get out of this house. I've been cooped up for X amount of months. I don't want to wear my mask. I'm going to do what I want to do. And as we've seen in states all over, there's been rises in COVID deaths, rises in cases of some people not wanting to listen.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it is unfortunate, to be quite honest with you, that we've had so many different people pass and experience any kind of effects from COVID-19. I strongly encourage folks to put themselves in positions to be the safest as they can for themselves and their families, regardless of what it is that you believe. There are folks on the left and to the right, right, that believe different things in relation to the pandemic and COVID, whether it doesn't really exist to, hey, wear a mask everywhere it is that you go. I'm just asking for folks to make sure that they make the decisions that are best for the health and safety for them and their families, to be quite honest with you. As for me in my profession, I take all the proper health and safety precautions to make sure that I am not aiding in the spread of any airborne viruses, such as COVID-19, that has a high rate of spreading and can affect people of all ages in many different ways. So it's important to be safe. It is.
And given with social media, with everything is so right, so left, no matter what your political or religious affiliation is, how important do you
Mhm.
think for people it is to just turn it off, not deal with it for like maybe a day, a week, a month, or what have you, to just get it away, go out for a walk, meditate,
Mhm.
pray, whatever it is that you do, and just clear your mind of everything that's going on.
Absolutely. In my clinical opinion, I definitely suggest it. It is completely okay to be able to take a break from these things, limiting social media exposure, taking an opportunity just to turn the news off, right? I'm not saying completely ignore it from now until the end of time, but being able just to take a break from, so many different sad stories and so many different serious topics, in order to be able to just relax and rejuvenate, continues to be important. Like you said, going for a walk, getting some sunshine on your face, doing something positive like a gratitude journal, right? Or anything else that helps to lift your mood. Taking an opportunity to listen to positive music, right? Where they're talking about positive things and something that puts a smile on your face or gets you dancing. Like being able to expose yourself to positive things of that nature can pay dividends in a tremendous way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
or you could do mirror raps like my girl Issa Rae in Insecure.
Absolutely. Those two. Hey, whatever works for you and what is the most affirming to you in a positive way, do that, even if it means mirror rapping. My favorite pastime. Yes, sir.
Or walking around talking. So whatever you got to do to get yourself through, be like Nike and just do it. So how can adults get themselves mentally prepared, even though like with everything going on, because you're balancing work, you're balancing kids, if you're married, you're balancing married life. So what can adults do to where I can be my best self, not feel like I'm burning the midnight oil and not having
Right.
enough to give?
Right. It's important for adults, it's important for everyone to make sure that you are paying attention to yourself. Notice when you're starting to act unlike yourself or act out of routine, or if somebody that's within your supports or someone that you respect is able to actively notice that, hey, you're acting differently or talking differently, reacting differently, behaving differently in any particular way. It's at that particular time that you know that you may have to take a step back from something or be able to utilize the coping skills that work for you. Notice that I said that work for you. Coping skills and solutions are not one size fits all, Jarrell, despite popular belief. Because we like, folks love to do that, make suggestions for things that work for them. It's important to be able to ask somebody, hey, what is it that works for you? Or what has worked for you in the past? Or what are some things that you naturally enjoy doing that help boost your mood and put a smile on your face? Like those are the most genuine and most impactful coping skills that exist. And being able to make sure that we dig within the crates of ourselves to see what it is that's on our utility belt already to be able to use. And in the event that, guess what? The things that you're using are just not working out. The supports that you used in the past are just not making as big as an impact as they were before. To take an opportunity to evaluate the need for professional help. It's nothing wrong with being able to seek an opinion from a professional. When you're sick, folks, go to the doctor. If you have a sore tooth or something like that, you go to a dentist. If you're just not feeling like yourself, it is okay to be able to seek out a therapist. And we're here and more than happy, willing, and ready to be able to help.
Yeah, and whatever works for you is like going to a custom suit shop. You're not gonna get a
Mm,
suit that's made for JD. The
mm,
tailor's gonna look at you, measure you up, say, okay, you
mm,
like your pants a certain way, I'm gonna make it just for you. You like your shoes a certain way, I'm gonna get your shoes just for you. You want your jacket like this, I'm gonna get your jacket just the way you like it, and only you can wear it. So look at your mental health as going to S&K, Men's Warehouse, or wherever you like to get your fine suits, or if you're in the Detroit area, probably somewhere on every corner. But either way, look at it as you're getting yourself together to where you're fresh so that you can be better, not only for you, but for everybody around you. Now, real quickly, I want to talk about the creative space in the entertainment industry. I mentioned Issa Rae earlier, and of course, Insecure, big show HBO. She got to start on a YouTube web series, Awkward Black Girl. But we're also seeing the explosion of Black creators all over, such as Lena Waithe and The Shy, Donald Glover in Atlanta. So, how do you think about the positive representation of African Americans in the creative space? And I believe we haven't really seen that many representations since the 90s, with Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Juice, Fresh, underrated classic, Dope Stupid Dope Moves. The list goes on and on of all those great movies that came out during that time period. And we're kind of seeing them building off the shoulders of those movements of decades past.
yes, it is. amazing to see so much melanated magic out here, Jarrell, to be honest with you, man. To see so many different members of the Black community out here utilizing their talents on grand stages, and not just keeping their talents or their philanthropic efforts to themselves, but taking an opportunity to reach back into communities, giving folks opportunities to be able to utilize their talents or display their talents on different platforms that would have otherwise gone unnoticed. It's an amazing time that we're living in right now. It's an amazing time, to be honest with you, to be Black and to be proud, to be honest with you. And it's something that I'm very passionate about talking about, something that I'm just very excited to see when I see Black and brown people in positions to be able to display their talents and give back to the world in so many different ways. We're just not, like I said, one-sided or just able to wear one hat. There are folks that are out here that are not just entertainers, but they're businessmen and women, and they're involved in so many different other efforts, collaborative efforts, political efforts, advocacy efforts, mental health efforts. It's just been amazing to see, and I could not be more proud. It's very, very motivating, very encouraging.
Yeah, one word of advice, people: be like Ace Boogie. Don't be like Rico. If you've seen Paid in Full, you know what I'm talking about. Ace Boogie, he got on, he put his friends on. And I relate that to LeBron James, because LeBron, once he got drafted, he got himself in the door, brought his boys in, put his boys in position once they showed themselves approved, and they're taking over, Black owned. They made men. And if you look at the LA Lakers roster, most of the roster are all Rich Paul clients. And LeBron and Rich are asserting their muscle and saying, we're not going to do it the traditional way. We're going to do it our way. And we're going to make our footprint while doing it.
That's right. That's right. Great to see. Huge LeBron fan. Huge LeBron fan. It's been great to see how he's grown, just within himself and within his business. Being around the same age as him, it's very much so motivating and encouraging. Hope to be able to meet him one day and collaborate with him as well.
Yeah, and seeing the boots on the ground movement where everybody participated in Black Lives Matter and the various movements from, attorney Ben Crump, and we're seeing Charlemagne the God being outspoken and being out in the forefront using his platform along with Breakfast Club. Shout out to Charlemagne from South Carolina, SC, and also shout out to Tamika Mallory out there on the forefront doing her thing. I see you, Cuzzo, doing your thing, and just everybody that's out there using their platform to do good. And that's what it's all about, just taking your platform, no matter if you have one person or 10, using it for good, using for something to be effective, and getting the message out. And that is what the message is here, where even though I interview people within the music industry, I interview everybody because everybody has a story. And to go beyond the album cover means that you take a look beyond the front and the back of the cover. You peel the inside, you look at what used to be called liner notes or album credits, and you get the full in-depth story. And that's what we're doing here at Beyond the Album Cover, just getting the full in-depth story, their truth, fair, true, no biases, and raw.
Right. That's right. And you definitely touched on a very important subject in relation to racial tensions and Black Lives Matter. And it's just important to be able to state, whether you believe in the organization, right, the formal organization, Black Lives Matter or not, is one thing. But it's important to be able to recognize the statement of it and why folks are being able to say that. It's not that other lives do not matter. It's just important to be able to recognize that, yes, Black lives do matter as a result of the things that it is that we are currently facing and have faced for so many different years, and what it is that we have overcome and what we are continuing to advocate for and press forward to be able to overcome, not just for equality, but for equity as well. And it's important that people from all racial backgrounds, cultures, religions, and things of that nature be able to bond together to be able to recognize that there's a war going on right in our backyards, right in our front yards, on Black lives. And it is only through bonding together arm in arm that we'll be able to make it through this. So yes, Black lives do most certainly matter.
All right. And I want to leave you out on this. What is your favorite posse cut of all time? Rap posse cut. For those of you that don't know, that's 2 or more, and you're on the record. So your top posse cut of all time.
Top posse cuts. And I couldn't hear your explanation. This is like favorite song of all time?
Yeah, favorite rap record, but it's a posse cut, you know, where you got features. I'll give an example, like Scenario, Tribe Called Quest.
Oh yeah. Where you have features. So with a lot of different people on it. Let me see. Because you put me on. Let me see. Posse cut with a lot of different features on it.
I got him, gentlemen.
I mean,
ladies and gentlemen.
Gosh, my favorite one. I'm blanking right now, and I know that like literally my older brothers are screaming at the screen right now, and everybody that I know is probably screaming at the screen right now.
I'll go ahead and give you mine while you're thinking of yours. So for mine, it would have to be the Symphony. For me, that's my number one posse cut, the Symphony. Then I would go with Live at the Barbecue. You know, Main Source. First time we heard Nas, we had Akinelli on there, Fat Joe on there. Then I would go with the I Shot You remix, LL, Keith Murray, Foxy Brown, Prodigy, Fat Joe. Then I would go with Banned from TV, Noriega, Cameron, Big Pun. And then for my fifth posse cut, I have to go with Scenario. Tribe, Leaders of the New School, Busta Rhymes coming out. That's when you knew you were a high MC if you were the last person to go on a feature.
Absolutely. You better believe it. You better believe it. Because all the ones that you mentioned, of course, as a reminder, were really, really great. I just feel like, man, and I feel like I was cheating or would be cheating if I came up with this answer. But I mean, just do the Wu-Tang songs count as a posse cut?
We could put the Wu as a posse cut because literally you're 9 separate MCs in one group.
Can we do that?
Yeah, okay, you could put Wu. You could put Wu.
Yeah, because I like the Wu. And of course, they're all one group or what may have you, man. But immediately what comes to mind, and everybody has their favorite Wu tracks, man. But man, Cream, and the verses that were on Cream, man, and everybody that came through on that takes me back to my childhood. That takes me back to like early introductions to hip hop, man. When I got into it myself, to be quite honest with you, man, as an artist in different ways, man, with my older brothers leading the way and influencing me in that particular realm, man. But Wu-Tang, Cream, man, like, oh my gosh, man. I mean, so many different prominent records just from that affiliate, man. Those dudes are timeless and can continue just to shut everything down, man. So I felt like that I would be cheating by being able to mention them early on. So I tried to think of a track with various artists on it, but I mean, the Wu-Tang, they are various artists. So, man, shouts out to the Wu. Shouts out to the Wu, man. That legendary group, timeless, iconic, every other large, tremendous word that you would like to use, man. But those guys, I mean, legends in the hip hop.
Definitely. And my honorable mention would go to Don't Curse. Are you familiar with that one?
I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't Curse. Heavy D, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, and Q-Tip. That's another dope posse cut. And because of the fact that they didn't curse on the record, that's what made it so hot.
Right. Being able to do that, they took the Fresh Prince route, right? Like without cursing ever in the music, man. And it takes, like I said, great talent to be able to do that too. So to be able to spread it around like that, I felt like was pretty dope, to be honest. I really do.
Yeah, definitely that. And sleep on Will if you want to. His rap skills were underrated. And hate on MC Hammer. Hate on MC Hammer if you want to. Hammer was doing pop numbers when rap was still underground. You understand? We wouldn't have Drake numbers if it wasn't for MC Hammer. Hammer had some beats. And Redman tells a story on DJ Vlad how he tried to test Hammer. Hammer had to come see him and was like, don't let these pants fool you.
That's it.
I'm from Oakland.
You better be careful.
I'm from Oakland. I can throw these hands. I know Too Short. Right. Yeah, shout out to Too Short. Shout out to E40. And before we go off, man, I want to talk about the Rough Riders and No Limit Chronicles. Just thinking about their movements and how they were able to take sounds that were confined to regions of the country and it became nationwide, especially what Master P did on the business front.
Yes, man. I mean, two huge organizations, man, that changed hip hop in dramatic ways, to be honest with you, man, that just had so many different talents within them, and the backstories were 10 times as better, right? So, like, I was a huge fan of both, man, of both the Rough Riders and No Limit. Still listen to both organizations' music today. To be honest with you, I would be remiss if I did not mention Cash Money, because when Cash Money kind of started entering themselves into the mix, when No Limit had already established themselves, right? Like, it was something like, you know, a lot of people slept on them. But I'll never forget when I was in middle school was when I got introduced to Cash Money through one of my peers at the time. And I remember that first tape that I heard, and it had all of them on it, man. Hot Boys, of course, and everybody that was affiliated with them, of course, Juvenile, Turk, BG, Lil Wayne, right? And literally, man, just hearing them and just hearing how they were able to approach the records, I knew that they were on to something. And of course, the rest is history. Such iconic organizations with such iconic music, timeless beats. Oh my goodness. Just takes you back to a good time within life. And a good time within hip hop as well. I feel like the hip hop just has so many different eras that, depending on how old you are, right, you can appreciate, and others may feel differently than that. But it's just important to be able to respect the game and how much that it continues to evolve, and how much that so many people have given such timeless music to. Absolutely.
Yeah, and definitely shout outs to the godfathers of Southern rap, Uncle Luke down in Miami of Luke Records, yes. Jay Prince, Rap A Lot, and also Memphis doesn't get enough credit for the blueprint that they laid in hip hop, you know, with DJ Spanish Fly, 8 Ball, MJG, 3-6. I had a chance to go to Memphis last year, and coming out of the Civil Rights Museum, there was the arcade restaurant. And I was telling my wife, I was like, that's where 3-6 Mafia did the Turn the Club Up video.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. A lot of people don't know that. And of course, I mean, I expect for you to know, absolutely. But I mean, great artists out of Memphis, man. Great artists just out of the South, man. The South is not to be disrespected, you know. So yeah, much respect, man, to everybody out of the South, man, that have been able to contribute to hip hop and continue to contribute to hip hop. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because like Andre 3000 said, when Outkast won the Best New Artist at the Source Awards, the South got something to say, and decades later, we are still saying it, and we're still repping it.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's
so
right.
Do you have any shout outs you want to give before we conclude this interview, and also plug your social media?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, endless shout outs. Shout out to Greensboro, North Carolina. Thank you so much for raising me and continue to influence me and continue to push me. Shouts out to my alma maters, Dudley High School. Shouts out to UNC Greensboro, UNCG. Shouts out to North Carolina A&T as well, for all the influences, of course, within my family, within the city, within the state, within the world, to be honest with you. Shout out to the Playboy Pi Zeta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Shouts out to my older brother. Shouts out to my parents, my family members, friends. Shouts out to my beautiful daughter and my most wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous fiance, Courtney. Love you very much. Love you all very much. Jarrell, shouts out to you, man. You came to me during a time, to be honest with you, man, where I've been able to increase my public presence. And being able to talk about mental health as a Black provider. And it's been something that I have been truly grateful and honored to be able to do, man. And I'm even more honored to be able to do this on your platform as a fellow Spartan, my brother. I salute you and I appreciate you for being able to have me today, man. This has been amazing. Y'all don't fault me for the posse cut, for me getting stuck. I thought I was cheating with Wu-Tang, but thank you so much for having me, Jarrell, man. This has been amazing, man. And you've always been a trendsetter and being able to do some tremendous interviews. And I'm just honored to be able to be amongst the numbers, sir. Thank you very much.
Man, I appreciate you. And you can catch this interview on Beyond the Album Cover, available on all streaming platforms and on YouTube at youtube.com/J85. Follow the Facebook show page, facebook.com/Beyond the Album Cover to stay updated. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, right here on Beyond the Album Cover, my good friend, Mr. Jaren JD Doby, licensed clinical social worker. JD, thank you for coming on, bro.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jarrell. Special shout out to Invincible 251 as well. And Jarrell, thank you so much for having me.
No problem.